Well, I guess we're gonna pick up where we left off in the last video. We had to replace this heater core on this 9320. So we've got that all installed here. I had to vacuum the cab out and now we're ready to put that back in. We also replaced the blower motor just because it was apart. Not sure if there's anything wrong with this one, but probably a month or two after we get this all going again, or after we get this going, it'll go, and then we'll be back into that again. This, between the heater core and the blower motor, it was $636. So we'll just toss this back up in the back of the cab here, get that fastened down. Then we've got to put the base to the seat back in there. The seat itself, we can kind of show you what this looks like up in here, minus a seat. That's what it looks like. So we'll get that HVAC unit mounted back in there, and then we can get the rest of the cab back together here. We're hoping that by early morning, or early afternoon rather, that we can run and pick up the final drives for this front axle so that we can start putting that back together. This is just an oil change that Nathan's doing here, and we'll show you the front end of his spreader here that he did last night. Well, you really can't see too much, but he ended up stiffening up the top of this ram. That extension right there just bolts on, and he ended up putting a couple of flat bars on there to stiffen it up so that we would keep from folding it backwards like we've been doing for a little while. So let's get this unit in there. Well, the next few minutes of this video, I'm gonna have to do a voiceover. I don't know what happened to the audio. It is Monday morning. I'm on my way out to Kaz right now. I've got the final drives in the back of the truck. I don't know if you can see them there. The final drives for the rear axle. So I'm probably 5-6 days behind here with getting these videos out. And when I was editing this video yesterday, I seen that I had about a half a dozen clips that I didn't have no audio. So we'll do the next few minutes as a voiceover, and I'll just kind of explain what's going on, and then the last third of the video or so, I get the audio back and it will be a normal video. Sorry about that, but it is what it is. So I had a little bit left to do with this heater core, and I ended up getting that completely installed. I've got the seat and everything put back in, along with the floor mat and everything. So we ended up going over to Kaz to get that tractor, but before we ended up going over there, I went up to check on the guys cleaning sand out from underneath the barn at the front pit. Now this is the first time we have used the H&S spreader on this particular job, and the one concern we had was how well the tailgate and the front ram was going to seal up. They've got a rubber gasket that goes all the way around, down the sides, along the bottom, and so on, and it seals up perfect. The Kuhn spreader, as you can see, is quite a bit shorter than the H&S. However, the skid steer gets over the side of the H&S just fine. Now we end up going over to get that tractor. Then we get back from picking the tractor up, and I'm using this same camera. I used a different camera to go over to Kaz with, and the audio is still goofed up in these next few clips. Well, the 9560 is now home. just went and picked it up, and Sarah drove it home from KBO Equipment. So we've got some new tires ordered for it, and that'll be the next thing they'll get done here. So now we're back from KBO. We've got our parts laid out. I end up getting everything cleaned up so that we can start reinstalling our parts here. Before I ended up putting the piston in, I tried to put the piston in without, in other words, I just tried to put it in the same way that I've put the pistons in these other tractors when I've done the brake jobs on them, and it can be kind of tedious. We usually just use a dead blow hammer. However, I said, you know what, I need to make something that makes this job go a little easier. Now you can just put a bolt in and kind of wedge a pry bar in underneath the bolt to get the piston pushed into place. However, I said, you know what would be even easier if I took a piece of angle iron and drilled a couple holes in it to match the holes on the differential case. So that's what we're doing here. We're drilling a couple of 11/16 holes or 17 millimeter holes in this piece of angle iron, and then we're going to use the angle iron to push on a couple of blocks of wood to push this piston into place. Now, once we get towards the latter part of this video, when I put the other side together, I actually have audio, and we'll explain it there too. But this is the first initial time that I have used this piece of angle iron with these two small blocks of wood to push this piston into place, and it works great. The differential case we ended up leaving vertically, and that's how we installed the final drive, the first final drive into it. We installed it vertically just because it was going to be easier to do it that way than try to balance things on the floor. The differential case would have been moving around on us, and I felt this was easier just to do it this way. I ended up going around the final drive with a torque wrench here, and then the next part of the video, we have our audio back, and I'll actually be able to explain things as I go, maybe a little better than trying to do this voiceover. So I apologize for the audio not being there, but it is what it is. Well, we've got the differential laying down on the pallet. We've got our surfaces cleaned up. This here is the piston. We've got our O-rings in there, and we're going to go ahead and put the piston in. Now this is traditionally the position that a differential will be in when you go to put the piston in, and we'll kind of show you that it's kind of a mongrel to put in there. You got to kind of hold it up there, get it started, and if you don't use the angle iron press that I've got, it kind of makes for a pain in the butt. You can put a bolt in and put like some kind of a pry bar in there to kind of pry it to get it started, but we'll use this in the horizontal position here, and we'll see how well that works. That's kind of setting in there. Well, as easy as that. We got that setting into place. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to go ahead and apply a little bit of oil to our disc. Get that in there along with the backing plate. So there's a plate that goes on either side of that brake disc. And we'll get that setting in there, and then we can put our sealant around the outside, put the ring gear on, and then we'll put some sealant along that ring gear and then mate everything here together. All right, we are now ready to put the final drive into the differential. Now, what I used to do is I used to just bring the fork down on top of the differential housing and just run a bolt down through there. That worked all fine and good. Another way you can do it is with a strap, but when you're working with a tractor that's got a cab on it and you got fenders, you really don't have a lot of room to put a strap around it to suspend it. So I made this bracket up to bolt down through the holes. That bracket worked on the 7200, and oddly enough, it's working on this 9320 as well. It's got a chain welded to it, fits the holes, and if I get a tractor that's got a different size holes, I'll just make another bracket or drill holes into that one. We've got the chain on the back of the, well, on the outside of the axle itself, and then that is going to allow us to come in somewhat of on an angle, because that differential case is coming uphill. We will be able to curl our forks either down or up to get the angle that we need to guide that in there. So we'll go ahead and get it guided in. I've got a man right here to help me. Nate's the man. Well, that other one went together too easy. I wish we could have this one vertical, but oh well, it's the way it goes. So we'll turn the camera off while we struggle with this one. And then we'll tell everybody that it fell together. So I'd been reading through the comments, you know, like, I've got a tractor that's got this many hours on it and I've never had to do the brakes. What's that video that F around and find out? That's what these guys got to do. Work your tractor and find out. So this tractor has a spreader behind it with brakes on it, but it gets used. Up and down the bunk, you're stopping. You're creeping down over the edge. You're using the brakes so you don't drive off the edge. F around and find out, right? In other words, work your shit and find out. Right, Lukens? F around and find out.
That's why I have to put brakes every week on my truck, because I use it so goodly.
All right, that went pretty good. It took about 12 minutes for us to get that lined up. Junk pallet though. We should have had a better pallet underneath it. We worried about that damn thing rolling right off of the pallet. So we'll get our bolts in here, get this side torqued, and then we could just kind of guide this differential. We gotta turn it 180 degrees, get it underneath there, and then hook our chain falls on it. Line that up, get it right into place. Right, Nathan? Yes. Well, we've managed to get the differential back in underneath the tractor. Now we just got a simple job of putting a chain on each side, hooking to our chain falls here. And then we can get it raised up in the air, get it to where we need it to be, and then bolt it. We'll put a bolt, 2 bolts in each side to hold the outside up, and then we've got to bring our blade pieces in and put them on. We've got one to go down around the bottom, which we didn't take off till after We got the axle out, but we just felt it would be easier to put that up in there without any extra weight on there. So we'll get this suspended in the air and then get a couple of bolt holes lined up, get that in there, and then bring our blade pieces in. Well, unfortunately, that is going to do it for this video. That's all the footage I have from working on this 9320. I had quite a bit of footage still left on the SD card that I had installed in this camera. And yesterday, when I was finishing up a job that we were working on yesterday, which I lost all the footage from it, and I lost all the footage from putting this 9320 back together and taking the rear axle apart. We'll just kind of go into what we did, and then we're going to finish this video out, and I kind of explain things in the next video. I kind of explain some of the footage that we lost, and it's really disappointing. Now, these SD cards, they're just little tiny things. They hold a lot of data. I use a 128 gigabyte card in the camera. It holds about 4 hours worth of footage. And yesterday I was filming along, like I said, finishing up a job. The camera beeped a couple of times. It stopped recording, and then it had a message on the screen. It said repairing file, and then it it ended up erasing everything. It ended up formatting the card, and I lost everything that I videoed here over the weekend. Andrew helped me put the blade brackets on. Me and Nate ended up pulling the axle up into place, and you can kind of see that the front wheels are on the tractor. We pulled the front axle up into place last Friday night, and then Andrew helped me all day Saturday. We ended up putting the blade brackets on. We ended up putting the front wheels on, got it down off the jacks, jacked up the rear end, pulled the rear axle out, and then Jared pulled in his project, which I will explain in the next video. Again, real disappointed that I lost the footage from that too, because that tells a pretty good story. And it just lost the footage too. So unfortunately, that's how things go once in a while. I haven't had a problem like this in quite a while. I fell asleep one night editing a video back a couple of years ago, and I was deleting some files on my iPad, and I deleted everything that I had just put on the iPad, and I lost like 4 or 5 days worth of footage. That's the last time I had anything as bad as this situation that we are in right now. No big deal, but the SD card that I had, it was new April 2021, so it was just ignorant of me to try to get that much life out of an SD card. So I apologize for losing the footage, but we're going to try our best to catch up to where we currently are now. So thanks for watching, folks, and we will catch you at the next video.